Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, it is Sunday, October the 13th, 2024, in the year of our Lord. We're here in sunny and majestic Rural Retreat, Virginia, about to look at some Batman comics on a beautiful Sunday morning. It's Sunday morning. It is, what time is it here? Why, it's almost 6:30 in the morning. The dog and cat have eaten. I have eaten myself. And we are watching cartoons. And today there'll be. Are there two Trump events or just one? And then there's David Wilcock is also going to be on today as well. All right. All right. So you came to see Batman comics. I don't have that many, but because my comic collection's pretty pathetic. But well, that wasn't good. All right. So my earliest Batman is Batman number 5, but it's a facsimile. It's not real. So notice how they forgot to put the bat symbol on his chest. Batman number 5, a facsimile. This is probably still available at your local comic store. This just came out in the last year. I don't know. Call Kevin Johnson at Gotham City Comics. That's where I got that facsimile. He might still have one in stock. He keeps a lot of these new facsimiles. That's 480 649 3065, ladies and gentlemen. Call him up. Ask for Kevin Johnson. Well, you don't really have to ask for Kevin Johnson because he'll be the one answering the phone. But okay, no, then I jumped to Batman 121. It's not real. Again, this is a fake one that came from Toys R Us, special replica edition. And of course, he was called Mr. Zero, but he was, he was the character that would become Mr. Freeze, and so that's the first Mr. Freeze story. So this is, I would say, from the 90s. What do you think? Okay. This is interesting. This is Batman this is Batman number, what number is this? 127. This is actually a real issue of Batman. And I got this at I was just talking with Friar Tuck yesterday, all the way from Sherwood Forest, and he was asking me, what did you buy at it was called Kane Collectibles or Kane City Collectibles. Anyway, it's a big giant record store, but they also had comics. And I said, I couldn't really remember. So when I find something I bought that day that I went there, I'll be able to remember. And this is something I bought that day, and this was a pricey comic. It's Batman fighting Thor. This is not. I actually paid a little. I paid a little for that one. Ooh, boy, did I hear about that too. Oh, yeah, so. And then I have Batman 129. Now, these are. Man, that's such a great cover. This one I've had for years. It's 10 cents. This was a great time period for Batman. Man, I want to look at this book. Of course, yeah. I was going to say how Birdman, that's playing on TV, and Space Ghost were Hanna-Barbera's attempt to jump on the Batman bandwagon, because Batman had a hit series starting at the beginning of 1966, premiering in January of 66. And so by the beginning of the fall TV 1966 season, which would have begun in September, is when all the new shows used to start on network television. Hanna-Barbera already had some great imitation Batman series, Birdman and Space Ghost. Space Ghost is basically Batman in space. But I was gonna say that, and I said, you already know all this. What am I wasting my breath for? But February 1960. Look at that. You can get a Frontier cabin with your name, Billy, on it. Win a big prize. It makes. Can you name the 6 foreign countries these pictures stand for? If you don't know how to read, or if you're pretty stupid, you might. They win a big prize. You can win the Sphinx, or you can win. Well, how about that? These kids all look like the same person. That and that are the same person, aren't they? And then the girl just seems to be this guy with a wig on. Heck no. Look at this. Look at this guy, how intent he is. I'll get those bullies that beat me up for reading Batman. Do you want spending money? You can sell people door to door these religious plaques, religious mottos. Then once you make that money, you can get 150 Civil War soldiers or this aircraft carrier. New plastic aircraft carrier with 5 catapulting jets. I've never seen what that aircraft carrier that you paid $1 for back then looked like, but I imagine the aircraft carrier was about this long. And that might be, it probably was shorter than that. Okay. That was the commercial for Freakazoid. I can't stand that theme song. This is some bootleg channel out of China called Toonami Aftermath. It's part of the IOTV app on Roku, and it shows old cartoons, and then it has in between 1990s promos for the Cartoon Network. And I like the Tick though. That mid 1990s period had some great Saturday morning cartoons. X-Men, the Spider-Man cartoon, the Tick was great. Batman was kind of in its death throes. It went to a different network. It went from Fox to WB, I think, and they slightly changed the designs of the characters and made it a little more kid friendly. That's my remembrance of that. Look at this ad. If only I had this. This same month, they're selling Justice League of America, the first appearance of Justice League of America in Brave and the Bold. Introducing the Justice League of America. They have, through subtle mind tricks, they have caused people to now just call it the Justice League. You notice that? No one says Justice League of America anymore, because the comic book, they came out with other comics, Justice League International, Justice League Europe. And then I think by the time that early 2000s, they had I think so, the Justice League cartoon on television. I think they just called it the Justice League. It was no longer Justice League of America. And then when they made that Superman Returns movie, where they tried to get a guy that looked like Christopher Reeve. It wasn't a very good movie. It was Bryan Singer's Superman movie. You know, they had Perry White say, "Doesn't he stand for truth, justice, and all that other stuff?" Because they didn't want to say the American way. These socialists are really embarrassed about this country. But that's all right. Not to be political or anything. Okay, so that was Batman number 129. See, if you don't open these books, you know, if all you do is show, here's this cover, wow, here's another cover, you know, how would you have not, you wouldn't have seen that ad for the first appearance of the Justice League from 1960. You got to open these comics, man. It's good for the comics. They need to be handled by people. It's like, otherwise they get depressed. Okay, so I've got this system here that Captain Strangelove always used to talk about. He doesn't use it anymore, but it's still effective. If you fold back the top of the tape, then you can grab it like so and just pull it down, and that frees that, and then you can reuse the tape, and then, you know, that way you don't have to go out and buy a new tape when it, you know, Joe Biden's world, it's not Joe Biden's world, it's the BlackRock World Economic Forum, whoever runs that. Okay, so you just pull it down, then you can open it up, and that's effective. He now uses resealable bags, so, which is great. But okay, so we're looking at this fantastic cover. Look at that. It's not in very good shape. You know, this is the kind of Batman comic I would get at Lone Star Comics back in the late 70s, early 80s. It's as they say in the comic book community, it presents well. I mean, it doesn't really. It's acceptable to me because it's affordable. Yeah, it's got damage, but the cover is holding on. It's readable. It doesn't have major tears. It doesn't look like it was read by some filthy kid that picked his nose and ate the boogers. You know, we forgot how disgusting a lot of the kids that we hung out with in school were. And then you're buying these comics that were once owned by some really grungy, horrible kids. But anyway, look, you can record your voice at home. How about that? Batman's Robot Guardian. How about that? Yeah. Ruler of the Bewitched Valley. You know, Bob Kane still had his signature on. Bob Kane really did nothing. I mean, people talk about Stan Lee, but Bob Kane was far worse as far as really doing nothing and taking credit for drawing all the Batman comics and never acknowledging that these were all different artists. Bob Kane really couldn't draw at all. And everything really that we know as Batman really came from Bill Finger and Dick Sprang and all these other great artists. These are some great books that you could have gotten back then. These big 80-page giants. Yeah, how about that, man? Ruler of the Bewitched Valley. What are you guys doing on this beautiful Sunday? Sunday hasn't even started. The sun's not even up yet. I guess the time change will happen in less than a month, early November, and then it will be, the sun will already be up at this hour. Batman 142. See, and then you can take the pieces of tape It works better when you're not on a Mylite bag. It doesn't work as well, this technique. The books I have in Mylite, I bought these Mylite bags in the early 80s when they first invented them, and put all my, I think pretty much all my comics at that time, or at least my nice ones, in Mylites. And they still look nice, but I think most people today prefer the Mylar bags. These were, I don't know. Yeah, that's fantastic. Batman 142. So, wonderful. 142. Here's Batman 147. Oh, what's happened between 142? 10 cents. 147. It's 12 cents. Big significant change that happened. And much to the chagrin of many youth, comics went up 2 cents, which is pretty significant if you have a 50-cent allowance, you know. But this book's had some water damage a little bit. Not real bad. It probably could be flattened out by one of those flattening people. See, at this point, you had these amazing adventure books, the Tales of the Unexpected, House of Mystery, and My Greatest Adventure, which all three of them would soon become kind of superhero books. And then they would, at least Unexpected and House of Mystery, by the late 60s and definitely into the early 70s, they were horror books. And My Greatest Adventure, I don't think that lasted into the 70s much. Most people know My Greatest Adventure is where the Doom Patrol started. Batman becomes Bat Baby. They don't do stories like this in DC Comics anymore, but that's their loss. There's a great Aquaman and Rip Hunter Time Master books out there. And there were always these ads for Palisades Amusement Park that National had a contract, I guess, with them. This is a coupon for free rides on the Caterpillar or the jet plane. They were auctioning off, or they had a claim sale the other day with an old DC comic and Superman comic, and the kid had cut out the Palisades coupon, and on the other side was part of the story. But I think that's kind of cool that a kid was actually going to go to this place. It was, or maybe it's still there. Is Palisades Amusement Park still there? I thought it was in New Jersey. Am I right? Yeah, Amusement Park, New Jersey. It says direct buses from New York. So you can get on a bus in New York and go to New Jersey. And it tells you where to go with the bus station. 167th Street and Broadway, or 41st Street and 8th Avenue. You could get on the bus there and go to Palisades Amusement Park. You could see Roy Rogers' Liberty Horses, Emmett Kelly, famous clown. You can see Captain Astronaut. I think he was a kid show host that ran cartoons, probably in the New York area. And they had a circus going on then. Ooh, shit. This book is effed up. There's I don't know why this chunk is cut out. It's for some reason yeah, man, it sucks. Yeah, I don't like seeing that. Yeah, I don't think I paid much for this. Ads for the Flash and Green Lantern. Yeah, well, you got to remember the comics were made for kids and they were um, owned by kids, and kids will do things like that. For the best in comics entertainment, National Comics. Every DC comic is approved by the Comics Code Authority. Look, you have Bob Hope, Jerry Lewis, Fox and the Crow, which are all great comics that are forgotten about now. Jimmy Olsen, Lois Lane, also great comics. Love Aquaman, Green Lantern. They've got 3 different Green Lanterns cast now. Uh, uh, whatever his name is. My mind. The Guardians of the Galaxy guy. James Gunn. Yes. I always want to call him John Goris, so I have to think, because they both are JG. Anyway, James Gunn, Guardians of the Galaxy, all that. He made a great movie called Super that I recommend you see. But we've got the Peacemaker series and a Creature Commandos series in production. But the Superman movie, I heard yesterday, the film is basically put together. They've got a work print, which means the movie's basically there. All the scenes that are going to be in it have been assembled. They're still going to do editing tweaks to it, and all the special effects aren't in it yet. But the movie's been assembled. The rough cut, I don't know what the term is, but that's been put together, and so the next movies after that are the Lanterns movie. I guess it's and something else. I think Supergirl maybe. So there's going to be a Brave and the Bold movie with Batman. I don't know how that's going to work. I think they're going with this modern Batman where Batman has a son and all that. So I haven't read any of those comics, so I don't know. I can't vouch for them. I mean, here's a coverless Batman comic. Yeah. The mystery gadget from the stars. Batman at this point wasn't like a tremendous seller. We're right now we're in November of '62. So, man, but things would change for Batman. Where am I at here? Batman 152, The False Face Society. Oh, man. Oh, look at that, man. Look at this. Man. Only $40. Okay. December of '62. If only they knew what lay ahead less than a year from that date when Kennedy would be assassinated. Anyway, hi everybody. Meet Johnny DC, our mascot at Superman DC Publications, He'll be coming to you from time to time to tell you, I'm reading it backwards on my phone screen, to tell you about all the new and exciting issues of our magazines designed for your reading pleasure. Yeah, this little guy here is their mascot. Nobody remembers him now. Yeah. Look at the face, man. Oh my gosh. This one's in pretty nice shape. The False Face Society. I love that Batman had a dog and that the dog wore a mask. I just think that's great. I mean, I hear people say, oh, that was so cheesy. And they say, are you out of your mind? That was wonderful. Wonderful, I tell you. So, I'm sure that's a key issue. Okay, Batman 152. $147. Oh gosh, man, what a pain in the neck. Okay, my next issue doesn't have a cover. 157. Civil War soldiers again. Don't worry, men. In 100 years, they'll be making little tiny plastic toys out of you. You will be remembered for this great day in battle. Because there will be people charging $1.49 to have this big representations of you and your suffering and your valor. This was the Batwoman, who they later reinvented the character with a different identity, I think. I don't know what they did. They made her LGBTQ. I don't know when they did that. I'm not sure. But anyway, that's the way the Batmobile looked at that time. We're in August of 63, meaning that this book came out in June of 63. A few short months before the Kennedy assassination that would really change our country forever, and our country has never recovered from that. And anyway, I don't know. You can read it. It's just it'd be nicer if it had a cover. How do I come by these comics without covers? I think I could probably answer that question. Not that you asked it. Oh man, this must be from the same collection. It's the next month. It's September 63, and this one's autographed by Bob Kane. Look at that. That's his signature. You see that? Bob Kane. Then he puts a little asterisk, a little star. He puts Bob and then a star. Kane star. Lone Star Comics, that you know is mycomicshop.com. Look at Drew listening to my lecture. They used to sell in their store, because Lone Star Comics was my local comic store, my LCS, as you cretins like to call it. I don't know. I don't like acronyms much. How long does it take my local comic store? It doesn't take that long to say it. But you say LCS, it's like, oh, I saved a fraction of a second saying that. But then what if there's someone that tunes in that wants to learn about comics and doesn't know all these acronyms, and you're throwing around LCS, PC, just to sound cool, and they don't know what you're talking about. Oh, this is my Tech 27. It's like, what is tech? Oh, Detective Comics. It just takes so long to say detective. I understand, NOAA. It's National Oceanic and Atmospheric Association of America or something like that. Well, I understand. Just, okay, it's just NOAA. Or Federal Bureau of Investigation. Let's just spell out the FBI. Come on, but Detective Comics, that doesn't take that long. It doesn't take that much brain power to say it. But it makes you feel good to say acronyms. I just don't like it, man. To me, it's laziness and stupidity and foolishness and mental illness. I'm just kidding. Okay, here's Batman and Robin. See, things Batman and Robin were going to other planets and fighting monsters, and I loved it. But I guess in Batmite, which when I remember in the late '70s, around '77, they had the New Adventures of Batman from Filmation on Saturday morning television, and I thought, man, Batmite, what are they doing? And I didn't realize Batmite had history in the Batman comic. He wasn't invented for the TV cartoon. Like I was thinking, like Super Friends. They add Jan and Marvin, the Wonder Twins, or whatever. And it's like, why are these stupid teenagers look like Scooby Doo characters in my Justice League of America cartoon? Why are they not called the Justice League of America? What are they called? The Super Friends? And there were reasons, they were trying to bring superheroes back into Saturday morning television, and in the '60s, there were so many of these superhero cartoons, and parents got upset. There's too much violence in these superhero cartoons. They're punching each other, and they've got Nazis on them, because Captain America was fighting Nazis. We just can't have this, and networks wiped away all their superhero cartoons. Of course, it was also because the Batman fad had ended, Darth Vader. Uh, when my Darth Vader clock goes off, that means my wrestling clock's about to go off because that means it's 7 a.m. Now, I just brought my wrestling clock down from the kitchen upstairs because I want to hear it more often because I don't spend a lot of time in the kitchen. So I brought it down. Now let's see if it's going to go off here in a second. Um, I was talking about Lone Star Comics. They would have they would get collections, and sometimes there would be comics that were tattered, they were coverless. Okay, we're stopping. We're not recording Earthworm Jim, even though Earthworm Jim was okay. It had a really cool girl had like a bee costume or something. I liked that character. I don't know what I think she was Queen Bee or something. I have a little action figure of her. Okay, we're getting off Toonami Aftermath. It's just this little 2-hour block on Saturday and Sunday. That's the only thing I'm interested in that network. So now I'm free to leave and go somewhere else. So they would get comics that were not in good enough condition for them to sell, but maybe they were all there. Maybe some were in better shape than others. Sometimes they'd only get a cover, but you didn't just want to throw it away because it's a cover to Vault of Horror, like an EC comic. But they thought, well, how much is a cover? Just only a cover for an old comic that's really, and even the cover is brittle. But what they would do is they make piles of these comics that they're just not in good enough condition to sell. And when the piles got to be about that deep, they would shrink wrap it and put a label on it, Wounded Wonders. For $10, $15, you could get a brick of comics. Silver Age, sometimes Golden Age would be in there, and they say it's not going to be, we guarantee you it's this many comics, and we guarantee you that it's going to be nothing past 1975, nothing horrible. In other words, it's going to be all vintage comics. And, if nothing else, if they're bad enough, you just, make a collage, I don't know, decorate your coffee table with them. And so I would get those sometimes when I'd go in there, and I'd kind of look and squint to see maybe what's inside this pack. And You only kind of see the spines, and so I would wind up with these coverless Batman comics, and they're perfectly good, fun to read. It's just, you know, of course you want the covers, but part of the fun of reading comics are the ads. That's why I'm not that big on these omnibus books that all the new young whippersnappers like, because they don't have all the fun stuff. To me, this is fun. The ads, the little comic strips like this. Okay, so how much tape? How much tape? How much do I have left on this DVD disc? 25 minutes. I'm wondering if my vision is going because I'm staring into this phone too much. Oh yeah, Tim Walls went out hunting. He's for a photo op, and he didn't even really know how to load his gun. I'm sure he did better than I would do, but when someone talks about what a great hunter and mansman they are, uh, let's see. Okay, let's see what we can do here. Well, just a moment, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so this comic would soon undergo a change within a couple of years. They would try to change Batman up. I'll show you. I much preferred Woodsy Owl to Greta Thunberg, personally. Even the Crying Indian, he was great too. What? Hey, you know what? That one I just showed you, I have another copy of it. This one has the cover. The one I just showed you, the Super Bat Hound. Good, great Scott Bat Hound has acquired superpowers and he's using them against us. Look, he can breathe fire. Well, I don't need to open this one because you just saw it. I didn't realize I had two copies of the same comic. Okay. Okay. I'm not in the... Okay, this is 158. Notice he's got the classic black bat symbol on his chest. That's 158. Here's 166. You can see the art style has changed. It's more, it's less corny, whatever. And he's got this yellow oval around the bat. That was part of the new look, the new direction for Batman. They decided to update Batman to make it less silly, and that was in like 1965 that they did this. They updated it. They were gonna make it more that he's this great detective and less that he's going into outer space and fighting and all that. So look at that. So it's more dramatic, less silly. Although I like the silly. Um, so it's more like what Batman would be in 1969, 1970. So they started this new direction in 1965, but something would happen that would intervene. Over at the Playboy Mansion, Hugh Hefner had big parties, and Hugh Hefner had other interests. He was an old nerd, a comic nerd. He grew part of his infatuation with the female form probably came from when he was a kid reading Alex Raymond's fantastic Flash Gordon comic strip, Sunday comic strip. So he was a big fan of Alex Raymond and comics and comic art, which is why he would hire the best artist for his. Hold on. This is a great song, but I can't have copywritten music playing on my show. I wish I could, but you know how YouTube is. I'm just trying to fill this up. Anyway, so anyway, at his parties, he was also into superheroes and stuff and old movies and he ran some of the old early 1940s Batman movie serial there for all the celebrities and the Playboy girls, bunnies, and everything. They were all there hanging out. The hipsters, the Bill Cosbys, all the people that hung around there, Shel Silverstein, all the people. I don't know who hung around there, but the usual crowd were there, and they ran these old movie serials from 20 years before, and everyone was really getting into the Batman movie serial and laughing and cheering the hero and booing the villain and all of that. And there was some executive there, I don't know, or some producer there, and he saw, wow, look at how these people are reacting. Um, because around that time there was the pop art thing going on, and the art, it's like that Roy Lichtenstein was taking panels from comics and gluing them up to gigantic canvases where you could see the dots, and it was like ironic pop art, like Warhol was doing by painting a giant canvas just of a can of Campbell's soup, and that was just ironic that would be in an art museum, just a can of some common thing that you'd see in a supermarket. So they would do panels from comic books because Roy Lichtenstein, because he was thinking, this isn't art, this is junk, but I'm going to turn it into art. And of course, when he did that and made all this money, the original comic artist that he's basically tracing, it got nothing. But anyway, it was um, it's what they were up to. Let's see here, man. Dang, man. How did my vision go so bad? Um, so, um, so anyway, that's where the idea to do the Batman TV series that would premiere in January of 1966 came from. And when that TV series premiered, it was a big hit. And National Public, DC decided, let's make our comic book more like the TV show, because they had made the TV show, they had made it to be a comedy, and they originally had planned to have a laugh track on the Batman show that would have made it certain to anyone that it's a comedy. But without the laugh track, little kids would take it as a dramatic series by, I don't know how little you'd have to be to not recognize that the Batman show was tongue in cheek, maybe 6 and under, because it was pretty obvious that it was I don't know, I wouldn't say they were making fun of the comic, but in a way they kind of were. but it's a great series. And but anyway, the TV series, of course, he has the yellow oval around the bat on his chest. Now, later they would explain, they would retcon it and say he has this bulletproof shield behind his costume on his chest. So he wants the villains to shoot him right there. So he has a target there. Shoot me here. Don't shoot me here or in my shoot directly here and the bullet will bounce off. That's what someone later in the comics did, but I don't think that wasn't the original intention. They were just trying to make it different. Anyway, so this comic book, you'll see the change once the TV show premieres. You'll see that they're going to start putting the sound effects all over the corner, the cover, because in the TV show, when they had a fight, the sound effects, pow, bang, would appear on the screen, animated, and I mean, there's sound effects here. You hear the ring, but then they would become extremely exaggerated. Like this panel here, if someone's being hit, they would definitely put a sound effect later. And Marvel would do it too in their comics. Everybody started to exaggerate the sound effects, you know, once the Batman TV series became a hit. There's the sound effect of the machine gun there. But anyway, you'll see it become dramatically different. Anyway, this was the more dramatic look. You can tell that this just looks very different from what we've been looking at. And this is going to be a 65 comic, or close to it. No, September 64, late 64. So the change must have happened in the middle of 1964, and it lasted until the beginning of 66 when the yellow oval on the chest remained. Once the TV series, it had the fad kind of ended. The TV series lasted for like 2.5 years. And then by 68, they when the show was canceled, they the comic company DC decided to make it more serious again, and that's when Neil Adams started drawing it and all that. But in more recent years, the symbol they've dropped the yellow oval around it and everything. Okay. Oh, this one you can barely read it. Okay, so sometimes they'll have these dark covers. You can read that it's 176 there. Okay. Then 181. No, I don't have an original copy of 181. This is a facsimile. You can immediately tell by the $3.99 price tag. And it looks like I accidentally bought it twice. So here's another one. Sometimes that will happen when you become adult. So we're looking at a fake comic. It's all the original ads and everything. It's just not real. And actually inside you can kind of tell it looks a little dark. You can kind of tell this is a copy that looks like a color copy. Like this really actually doesn't look very good. Most of these DC facsimiles look better than this. This is a really great thing. I mean, this was why people wanted this comic, but then Poison Ivy became big on the 1990s, animated series, and then, oh, that's the first appearance of Poison Ivy. Before that, no one really cared. Now, what's going on with my internet? Is by here? I don't know. Oh, that's YouTube. That's not my internet. See, we're already into '66, so that's the. See here are the all the sound effects. The top TV comic stars come from DC. The hottest of hits. On ABC TV, you can see Batman. You can see The Adventures of Superman. That would be syndicated because that was a 1950s series, but it was still on the air. And of course, Filmation on Saturday morning would give you The Adventures of Superman, Superboy, and Crypto. And then there was a Broadway play. It's a bird, it's a plane, it's Superman. That it was just, it wasn't good. There was one song in that Broadway play that was really great called "You've Got Possibilities," and it was some other girl, not Lois Lane, that was kind of coming on to Clark Kent, and she breaks into song, "You've got possibilities, you know, you're square, but she can see that there's something there," kind of like just toying with him. You know, if you weren't so square and dressed that way, you could be something. Like she's kind of seeing the Superman within. That's a good song, and I think that was performed by, if I'm not mistaken, Linda Lavin, that later played Alice on am I wrong? On the sitcom. It's, if you listen to that song, you just listen to it on YouTube. Are these all Captain Crunch commercials? That apparently so. Anyway, so yeah, when Batman was canceled in 1968 by ABC, another network stepped in and said, "Hey, we'd like to take over that show and continue on with the fourth season." And then it turned out that ABC had already torn down the set for the Batcave, and they said, never mind, we don't want to have to rebuild that. And so that's why that didn't happen. But we're into the big time craze at this point. Batman was huge on television. There were three major crazes. And so if you look at the '60s, there were the Beatles, Batman, and Bond. The three Bs. Those were the biggest things, and almost everything else filtered from that. All the other superhero stuff filtered from the success of Batman. All the other British invasion bands filtered from the Beatles. And of course, James Bond begat The Man from U.N.C.L.E., begat Wild Wild West, Our Man Flint. There was just so much spy stuff. And okay. And so those were the biggest. I was about to tell a story in an episode and I was watching it back, and I never got to the story. As far as before the Beatles came along, Frankenstein was a huge. Like they would put Frankenstein on the cover of comics just to sell the comics. Frankenstein was really big because the Universal Frankenstein, because he was on television on Shock Theater, which was syndicated throughout the country. The Universal horror movie package, and just about every big city had a different horror host that would introduce these Universal horror movies that had been released to television in 1957. And then the kids really got into Frankenstein. And that was the main monster in that So there were songs about Frankenstein. There were, comic books. That's something that's kind of forgotten about. But then the Beatles kind of came along and eclipsed Frankenstein. But if you look at the amount of Frankenstein toys, and there was, the Munsters, Herman Munster is Frankenstein's monster, all that. Um, Halloween costumes. He was the main guy. You know, the Universal Frankenstein monster. Oh my goodness, what is this here? I'm just trying to fill this disc up. Yeah. Kevin Johnson, the owner of Gotham City Comics, was telling me about this roundtable discussion with these monster collectors. And let's see. I'll watch that. Okay, so did I just open this? I have no idea. I think I did. Maybe I didn't. That's 182. So Batman even winds up on the Batman TV series winds up on the cover here in issue number something 183. And of course, they put the bat phone that you see in the TV show. This one's in really nice condition. Be nice if I put a backing board with it, but that's not something that we used to do back in the old days. 185. So, they put out these incredible 80-page giants that reprinted old stories, and this would have been something that would be coveted by kids back during the Batman craze. They had Batman toys, and one thing you get, people get confused because there's so much Batman merchandise that you find that's dated 1966, and you think, well, TV shows premiere on television in September, the fall. That's when the fall lineup starts. So you think, well, gosh, how did they get so much merchandise out between the debut of Batman in the fall and the end of the year when it turned into 1967? You say there was just a few months. How would there's so much? How did they know? Well, that's because Batman didn't premiere in September of '66. The show premiered in January of '66. So you had the entire year of 1966 to sell the merchandise. In the summer of '66, premiered in January of '66. By the summer, the movie was out. The feature film was out in theaters, and it was just a huge phenomenon. Um, Same thing with the Beatles. There's so much Beatles memorabilia that's dated 1964. And that's because their appearance on Ed Sullivan. I don't know if it was it might have been February, but it was beginning of 1964. So that's why there was so much that came out during that year. The Beatles were huge, and these fads were so big in the 60s because there were so many kids in the 60s. There were the baby boomers were little kids then, or teenagers, and so a lot of the shows on television were aimed at kids. The music, the whole of culture catered to this giant group. There were more kids than there were adults, and it was the baby boom, and that's all because of what happens with major wars. There weren't, when a major war happens, like what happened that we fought between 41 and 40. Well, we didn't really get into the war until early 42. 42 to 45, and so many these guys went off to war, and the only way they were coming back to their sweethearts, fiancées, or wives was either by winning the war. They weren't going to just be able to come back home and visit in the middle of the war. They were only coming back alive, or they were coming back not alive. And in some cases, they never came back. They're buried overseas. And when they came back, um, they got married. They started having kids, and they had, college provided for them if they wanted, cheap houses, the economy, um, everything was for them. I mean, some of them came back pretty shattered, but they came back heroes, and there were movies about how great they were and all that. So they were heroes, they were looked up to, but secretly they were, they'd seen a lot of stuff over there. They'd seen horrible things. So that's why when I look through these old Newsweek and Time magazines and from the 50s and 60s, you see a lot of it. Almost every ad is for some cigarettes or hard liquor, because the the real life ward cleavers, the guys that had seen action in World War II, they did drink a lot, and it's fascinating to me. I just look at everything kind of like a historian. I won't be pretentious enough to say I'm a historian, but I love history, and I see how all this happened. The things I love, like I love exotica music, Martin Denny, Arthur Lyman, the music that sound for tiki bars. So why was tiki culture so big in the 50s? Well, it's because these guys had gone off and they'd seen this stuff. They'd been on these islands, and it's like, wow, this is really cool. And they had been in Hawaii even, and they come back and it's like, man, I'd like to. It's wild, man. And you see how great the big band music was in the late 30s and early 40s, and then after the war, the music, the guys like my dad would like look at his record collection that I still have. It's like Mantovani, Percy Faith. Why are you listening to that shit? Well, I mean, I guess it's okay, but it's so watered down and so calm. It's because before the war, they listened to the wild music. After they would say, man, I just want to be calm, man. I don't want loud music, man. I don't want loud anything. Damn, those kids, you better be quiet, man. You don't want me to get the belt, man. I've heard enough noise, man. Let me be calm here in my Archie Bunker chair, and let me just watch my football and just stay calm and smoke my cigarettes. And I got my Budweiser beer or my cocktail. And so but a lot of my dad never had any of that exotica music. I wish he had, and then, I don't know, it's fascinating how things become popular, and that's why there's so many kids. They were all born right after the war, and so now those kids are in the baby boomers are in their late 60s and 70s, and they were the ones that were the part of the counterculture of the late 60s and the 70s. They were kind of calming down in their 20s and listening to Steely Dan and stuff, and all that 70s music. And then, it's just, um, but you could see all the television shows cater to that group. And now television, it's mostly NCIS or whatever, it's shows aimed at older people, And you also tell by the commercials. In the 60s, the commercials for Captain Crunch and, for kids stuff, Water Wiggle. And then is now all the commercials, if you ever watch television, are for products brought to you by Pfizer, just medicine and stuff for old people. Everything's catering to, and it's the way it is. So But what we're looking at here is baby boomer culture. These, well, yeah, all these Batman comics would have been bought by baby boomers. I missed the baby boom by a year. I think the baby boom ended in '64. I was born in '65, so I'm considered generation, I forget, X. I don't know what I am. I'm something. I grew up basically in the '70s. And my older brothers were the boomers. They were the ones that bought these comics for real. Here's another copy. I have this one I just showed you sealed here. This is another copy. This one is not bagged. It doesn't have the back cover, but it's solidly there and sort of. Well, it's got a little bit of something eaten there, but it's this is a great way. Oh man, look at this! It's the ad for what we were just watching on television when Space Ghost premiered. And now, Space Ghost was designed by Alex Toth. I used to call him Toth. I don't know. I hear people on YouTube saying Toth, so I believe it. But CBS has gone all in here. Everything is the whole Saturday morning is superheroes. You've got Space Coast, you've got Lone Ranger. Oh, that Lone Ranger cartoon was wild. It was not like the Clayton Moore TV series from the '50s. He was always fighting supernatural monsters and stuff. And it wasn't like Scooby-Doo or at the end, oh, it's just let's unmask them. Usually, I think they were real. Here's you got Superman. You can't see him too well there. Frankenstein Jr. and the Impossibles. That was a superhero show mixed with monsters. Then you have there's the Impossibles. Yeah. Yeah. Mighty My Tour. That was there. It was all superheroes. And the other networks pretty much the same. They even tried to bring back Plastic Man. That attempt to bring back Plastic Man didn't sell. They also brought back Plastic Man about 10 years later. When I was a kid in fifth grade, they brought Plastic Man back in 1976 with Ramona Fradon drawing Plastic Man. That was fun. I bought all of those. Oh, this is summer of '66. Here's the Batman movie premiering. This was originally supposed to be the first thing. They were going to have the Batman movie in theaters, and then they were going to have the TV series. This was basically going to be the pilot, in a sense, for it. And but it turned out the series premiered in January, and then this came out in June or July. It premiered in Austin, Texas, and there's some great footage that's been unearthed lately on YouTube, color footage, of the parade. They did it all up. I'm trying to remember why they had the premiere in Austin. There was a reason that I don't recall now. But anyway, you don't ever really see the Batcopter or the Batboat much in the TV series. Maybe occasionally, but it was mainly they were used in the movie. Yeah, well, how about that? So this we're up to Batman 187. I remember buying a lot of these right about 1989 because I got excited when the Tim Burton Batman movie was going to be released, and everyone was buying up Batman stuff. I remember getting a lot of this Batman stuff then. This one's in pretty good shape. I mean, some kid drew on the end. And that's all right. Well, I mean, I'd rather they didn't, but it's not going to ruin my day, man. 187. I'm going to remove the cover and bathe it in chemicals and remove the ink. I mean, I'm not. That's insanity. No offense to you insane people out there.
interests, I guess. It goes from, Japanese toys to monsters to superheroes, television shows. It's all over the map. I love C.B. McCall. I
87.
don't really remember the toy line or have any predilection for CB movies from the 70s, but here I am.
There's 188.
Yeah,
I got that one pretty recently, I think. In fact, did I get that from Gotham City? I think I did. From Gotham City Comics, not the real Gotham City. Here's 190. It's a great penguin cover. This sounds like a great show. I'm gonna watch this more intently here. This is Batman 192. Man, I wish I could have been on this show. These sound like great people I'd like to hang out with. Batman 193. This is no cover, but I see it has a great story. Ride, Bat Hombre, ride. This is where there's a Batman from Mexico. And look at these. I'm sorry, it's got this. That's why you keep the cover on your comics, so you don't get this light glare through the damn page. Anyway, he's a Batman from Mexico with a big mustache. I mean, it's what can I say? I wish that that's a bad horse. That's so. I love that. Call me crazy. I love the shit. I love that Casper has a ghost horse, and that I love the whole extended characters. I love all the extended characters in Superman and Batman. And so some people are embarrassed by this. No, that Bat horse is actually Bat Hombre's horse. I'm sorry. Batman didn't have a Bat horse. He just had the Bat dog. I think here is a great mid 60s ad for the Aurora model kits. Aurora always advertised a lot in the DC comics. Just a great time to be a kid, man. Are you gonna buy the new Beatles record, or are you gonna get the 80-page? I mean, it just that would be a time that would be very. The thing is, how are you? What was it like to be a kid of lower income? Then there's so much cool stuff coming out. How could you buy it all? Here they've got Sunday comic strips reprinted. This is just a smorgasbord of wonderfulness. Look at this, these posters you could get.
There was a bookstore in Queen Street in the 80s called Leatherman's Toys, and they had collector books.
Damn.
And I remember going in there all the time, and the action figure collector books were always just called Celebrity Doll. And you'd go through it, and it'd be a picture of like a Amigo Batman, and it would say Adam West. Like that was the peak of information at this time.
And I bought toys far.
Here's Batman 194 coverless. This is a great cover, 197. Batgirl and Catwoman. By this point, Batgirl has been introduced. She was introduced in Detective Comics. I have the first Batgirl in Detective Comics. That's in a different box, and I might have to save that for another day, or I don't know. Depends on whether you guys want to see it. You got to tell me down in the comments down below. How bad do you want to see it? Maybe you don't even care about these books. 201. We're starting to change. It looks like we're getting into the serious period again. Yeah, we're getting into 1968. The TV show's being canceled, and now we're Yeah, okay, now you officially see it. How different it's starting to look. These blind guys are trying to kill Batman and Robin. Yeah, just the design of the cover, everything. We're real close to the Neil Adams era, where the comic realized, oh man, we plunged into trying to make our comic book like a TV show that was making fun of our comic books. And now the TV show's canceled. It isn't on the air anymore. And now we're trying to our comics are aping a show that's canceled that was making fun of us. We ought to take the sound effects down a few notches and the big sound effect blurbs. Oh, I got another copy of the same issue. How about that? And they try to get more serious here. Oh, one thing about Poison Ivy, she was almost in the 66 series. There was an episode with Leslie Gore, the great Leslie Gore. Leslie Gore was great. She was great. There was an episode where Leslie Gore is like this teenage sidekick to Catwoman. She was supposed to play Poison Ivy. That's how that script was originally written. They changed it. Yeah. We're officially in the.
They still have like the Enterprise playset on the shelf.
I
got all my Mego monsters there. I was just wondering if you.
I'm pretty sure that's Neil Adams. That's got to be Neil Adams.
But there was a place in Kids in Attleboro, Massachusetts.
Catwoman kind of changed too. They, originally she had in the old days she had a dress that was slit up the side that was purple, and then they tried to make her look more like Julie Newmar's suit in the TV show, and now they're creating a different look for her, and I think that's the look they kind of went for with the Mego Catwoman in the 70s. What you're seeing there. 211. Are you ready for Batman's moment of truth? Okay, we're still in the 12-cent era. Oh, here's one that's not bagged and boarded. I think I got this from Gotham City. I think so. I think back when I first met him.
Yeah, I want to get back to that early 90s theme in a second, but let's hear from Amy about how did you start collecting?
No, sadly, that's where we differ. My parents didn't collect anything. So I was kind of I always wanted to collect stuff, but they were like, no, we're not going to clutter things up. And of course,
these are the Aurora cars that you could. These were slot cars. These aren't like Hot Wheels. These are cars that would actually move that had motors in them. Slot cars were a big fad, and the Aurora. I still have all the Aurora track that I inherited from my brothers and the Aurora cars, and
that was my main obsession, but obviously a little out of reach. Now.
Wonder if the old Transformer still works. I mean, did the last time I tried it. I don't know how.
But I was really drawn to the artwork. But then I was always going to art conventions, like Children's Theater and Monsters and stuff like that. And there would be dealers there who would have monster toys. And it all started with a little glow Renaissance creature, 3 3/4.
Then the logo changes to this logo. This is, I don't know if this issue's a big sought after one, but to me this is one of the great covers. It's when Batman switched to 15 cents. That's about when I would first see the Batman comics, and we'll get to the first Batman comic I bought. These are not comics from my childhood. These are, this comic, I'm probably 4 years old when this came out. This was not, I would have been reading Casper. There's some Batman facsimiles out now, early Detective Comics that I don't have yet, but they're in my pile at Gotham City. I've got to get them. This is a replica. That's why it says $3.99. This is a facsimile. And I mean, it's pretty good. It feels like newsprint paper. It's still, well, the art, they have the art, so it looks really good and sharp. But the ads in here, that they look kind of like color copies. I mean, good color copies, but the original comic, if I had this original comic, the ads would have been clearer. So they're selling Looney Tunes Merry Melodies album. Weird. That's cool. See that? I guess it's the soundtrack music from the Warner Brothers music. Like Carl Stalling did a lot of that music. This is the ad for the Aurora torture chamber scenes. And James Warren wasn't happy because they have Vampirella playing like a villainess in this, like she's a bad character. And in the Warren comic magazine, Vampirella was a hero. Okay, so this is a replica of 232.
Why is there plastic sheets all over the floor? Oh no.
Which I don't have the real one, but I have the next issue, which is 233. Oh, look at this. Not in very good shape at all. This is 234, which is Neil Adams. It's the first, arguably the first Two-Face in the Silver Age. There was an issue of World's Finest that had a Two-Face, but it wasn't Harvey Dent. It looked like that, but this is the first Harvey Dent Two-Face, brought back from decades before. I had this as a kid. When this came out, I had this issue. I 100% remember this cover. It didn't survive. I don't know what happened. This one I got later. It is not in good shape. There's staple rust. Ugh. It's all there, and this is one I'd never be able to afford now. I don't know what the prices are on these Batman comics, but I know that, and I know that they're sought after. Here's okay, that must be all my Silver Age Batmans. From that point on, I'm gonna have to get the Bronze Age comics down, which I could if you want me to. Now I just have Batman annuals at the end. This is a fake Batman annual replica. And then, oh shit, this is the real thing, but it's in terrible condition. Oh boy. Yeah, let's compare them. How well did they replicate? Oh man, someone has destroyed it and taped it back together. So how close are they? The coloring's a little different on Batman. Oh boy.
I'll find it some other place, and he said, "Well, this is very rare. You won't be able to find that." And so I left there thinking I'm gonna find.
Well,
I eventually
which
feel it a pretty big Nego collection. I never did.
What do you think of this, Joe? That's a sought-after issue.
And then I became kind of a generalist. When I get on something new, I kind of go crazy with it. And I want to know everything about it. I go whole hog.
Here's issue 5.
Toys or music or filmmaking.
I don't know. I mean, 80-page giant, issue 5. I've never really quite understood that. Is it issue 5 of 80-page giant or issue 5 of Batman 80-page giant? It's very confusing. But I just put all my giant Batmans at the end of my Batman run. That's how I always do. I always put annuals at the end of whatever run of comics is in the box. That's just the way I've always seen it done, you know. It just seems logical. And then it moves to Blackhawk. Here's Blackhawk
I think overall that was a good decision. I
151.
think it would have gone
I love Blackhawk.
smoother. I kept
That's a
talking about
10 center.
great things. I focused very strictly
Blackhawk
on
153. Blackhawk did not start as a DC character.
where I am
Started with another company,
now.
and DC acquired the characters from that company. And
Long time to learn.
this was no cover. This is a comic that you could always get cheaply. If you wanted to have Silver Age comics, you could get Blackhawk, Sea Devils, Secret Six, a lot of comics that collectors didn't. Ew, look at that. A lot of comics collectors didn't want. A lot of, they just didn't want them in the late 70s, early 80s. I don't think they want them now, honestly. Even here's, I love them, but like even in the 60s when this was sold at a garage sale for 4 cents, written on there with crayon.
Oh yeah.
So
Whatever the name of it was like $15, and I remember paying $23.
it's mucho new, very nuevo. They're trying to be funny.
The Pin cards.
So hilarious.
You guys were saying earlier that there were stores where you could find stuff on clothes.
Blackhawk number 219.
Where you could just go shopping for collectibles. You could find, like I remember, you enter Raiders of the Lost Ark stores.
228. I mean, it's
They were there.
you can tell they're not selling too well because you can barely even tell it's a Blackhawk comic.
They had like carded Mego,
You can barely even see the Blackhawk characters.
Spider-Man.
So they're bringing in the Justice League of America to help sell the comic. Marvel would do that with Spider-Man. He would appear when another comic was having trouble selling, and he'd jump onto the cover. Here's Blackhawk, looking like a war comic. Well, Blackhawk is a war comic. What am I talking about? But a fantasy war comic. This is 236.
I didn't get there in time for that, but through the grapevine, I heard some had turned off. So
This is a outstanding cover. It looks like something from the Golden Age. That really is good. The blue dot indicates I got it from Duncanville Comics in Duncanville, Texas. Probably for $5, I'm guessing. $2.41, maybe cheaper. $2.43. Then we move into Brave and the Bold. This is the book that we saw advertised earlier in one of those books, the first appearance of the Justice League of America. It's not real. You can tell by that. And also the price tag, which is not on the cover. Oh, it would have said 10 cents. This is, where do you see the price? $3.99. Now DC on their replica facsimile books puts that on the back so it's not going to destroy the look of the cover. But anyway, it's Brave and the Bold, number 28. So this, the Silver Age started with the return of the old heroes from the 40s. And superheroes kind of lost interest for the most part, with kids. And when they brought Flash and Green Lantern back in different variations, the only heroes that had never stopped publication from the Golden Age, as far as DC, was Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman had continued publishing unceasingly. But the Justice Society of America and All-Star Comics, that hadn't been around for a while. And so they brought back the Justice Society. They called it the Justice League of America. And then they created the whole scenario where the Justice Society still exists. They're on a different version of Earth, and there's all these multiple Earths, and it was I thought that was all wonderful. And then DC wiped that all away with Crisis on Infinite Earths, and I still resent that. but it's all right.
Yeah, I mean, because
Most
we
people
know
love it,
Batman
you know.
for some reason he was short the
But
plot, more Batman than
whatever.
anything else.
This is Brave and the Bold number 54. It's also a facsimile. First appearance of
Yeah, like
the
you,
Teen
Ray,
Titans, basically.
I never stopped
It's the
venturing into Toys R Us
sidekicks
or Toy
of
Store
the
or the toy section
adult
that used to walk
heroes
into
all
when
banded
we
together. That's
pick up little things
54.
like the Ghostbuster toys, like the monsters.
Okay, now we have a real Brave and the Bold number 55. It's the Metal Men and the Atom. Now, when the Batman TV Metal Men were great,
I remember
when the TV series came on, Brave and the Bold became a Batman comic, and he was always, and it always kind of stayed that way. Mostly, it was Batman teamed up with some other hero.
I think I'm really the 12-year-old boy.
But I mean, the Brave and the Bold started in the 50s as a comic about knights and Vikings and, you know, heroes from the past. This is Brave and the Bold number 60. By this point, they're calling them the Teen Titans and Robin, Wonder Girl, Aqualad, Kid Flash. This is a real one.
Every weekend we'd just be hitting KB Toys, going to comic book stores.
Oh man, this is great.
We'd go to conventions.
I want to talk about monsters, man. I don't want to just be a comic book person. That's embarrassing, man. I want to be with these people. Brave and the Bold presents.
Starting to get a little bit more disposable income per se.
Can't read.
They were graduating college.
Wasn't there sort of a generation
It's always when the black ink is on a purple cover that I have trouble.
period where there was toy collecting then was not like
61.
5 or 10 years prior?
This is
Something happened there.
Starman and Black Canary.
I think that the biggest thing that happened was toy companies started to realize.
This was a very inexpensive book to buy back when I bought it in probably early 80s. These are expensive books now, I believe. I could be wrong. Here's 62. The wrestling clock never goes off. I don't think it has enough light back here.
But you know what I mean? Like, they're going to be huge now. And I noticed that shift immediately.
Where do I put this wrestling? The clock needs light to activate.
Looking for the variants of every figure made, and that didn't happen in the 80s. So I found that shift, like Rich said, was the early 90s.
I might move that Jesus clock and put the wrestling clock over there.
Probably sure there's other things.
Yeah, and you started to learn, like, the word would go around, like, you gotta get that figure because that figure is short packed in the box, so it's gonna be worth more. The infamous one I remember is Hamburger Head Spawn, where everybody was like, you gotta find the Hamburger Head Spawn because that's the rarest one to get, you know, and
During that,
searching for that.
during that period, I was like in college, and I was really interested in vintage. So
Okay, this is the Jesus clock that has James Earl Jones reading Bible verses every hour on the hour.
$5 more than I paid for them, and just get rid of them because it was like a way to justify the table just to get in early at the show. But that stuff was really, really popular.
Okay, it's now 8 a.m., man. What am I doing? Oh, we're talking about Batman? No, Brave and the Bold. Anyway, there's Starman and Black Canary.
A different side of it. Like, I always picked up monsters and toys and stuff.
And Wildcats in it, too.
I didn't learn about the rabid fan base of people who would stand in line for 7 hours to get Treasure Hunt comics.
Man, I've got another copy. I've got 2 copies of that.
And then I'd see people outside in the wintertime during Christmas season, like this, freezing, like, you know, waiting in line.
This,
And then I'd come
number
out,
64,
"You need them treasure hunts? You wouldn't even treasure
Batman and Eclipso.
treasure hunts." And then
This one I got from Gotham City Comics.
white lightnings and the
It's got some writing on it. It was owned by Tex Watson. It's got his autograph on it.
Like, there was a whole world out there of people who would do anything to get their hands on the rare toys and the. So I didn't know.
Okay, 65 is Flash and Doom Patrol. This one doesn't have Batman in it.
I didn't learn about short packs.
This one was $14, but I think I got it for $7.
Toys R Us, and then it was
October 16. They put the date that they put it. This is, again, the red dot tells you it's Duncanville Books that I got that. That's why I like that store, and you find books like that in it.
Well, I started working for Toys R Us just as
The Batman Metalman number 74.
quickly became a dealing in toys situation once people would come up to me after I'd be getting out.
Another copy of 74, all beat up.
Some treasure hunts for me. I'll give you X amount of money.
How many of those guys are kind of like ruthless?
78.
They
Yeah.
still are.
When my kid
Wonder Woman
he was
and
really
Batgirl.
interested in, toy cars, and they put them in the Hot Wheel aisle.
Oh, Batman, Wonder Woman, and Batgirl.
Pushed them out of
3
the way
people teamed up.
in front of me. That didn't end well. But it was like, what the hell? He's 2, you know?
I had worked at Target.
Why is that wrestling clock not going off, man? Something is wrong.
So right there when
Here's Neil Adams cover, number 80, Batman and the Creeper.
I think that
I got to look into this clock. This is driving me crazy.
temporary world of toys, because I started toy collecting more into the vintage stuff, exposed to the
Put your crying son, or I'll give you something to cry about.
So
Oh, it did go off.
I worked in the toy department at Target.
Right as I go over there. Stone Cold Steve Austin. Did you hear that? Was that audible?
How they were packed in the boxes.
But it's not.
And
I think that
advantage of that too
are
much.
these all.
I mean, first of all, they didn't want, the managers didn't want the people working in the department to be buying up all the toys themselves. So I just didn't, I had a problem with that. I thought that wouldn't be right for me to do that. But I did buy, I wanted to get one of each. So I started to become kind of a toy justice warrior, because
Here's Batman and the Flash, number 81.
would be like April O'Neil. There was a year where April O'Neil, I think it was the first one had no
83, Batman and the Teen Titans.
And I think that's when the general public had started kind of blew up. And everyone was looking for April O'Neil.
This one's not in great shape. 84.
Dealers collect people want to sell it. And I took one and put it in the back one Christmas.
88.
I just know there's like the right person is going to come along, and I'm going to let them
90.
have this April O'Neil. So for a couple weeks, I hid this April O'Neil, and no one could find it. And everyone kept asking me, "Have April O'Neil?" I said, "No." It was
91.
like the day before Christmas or something. This mom came in, and she was a mom. She was buying stuff for her kids, and she came up to my brother like, "I know
92.
I shouldn't even ask, but I'm going to do it anyway. Do you have an April O'Neil?" And I said, "Let me check."
99.
In the back.
I said, "Look what I got." And she was like, "Oh my God."
Ooh, that was 99? No, that was 96. This is 97.
Yeah. That's a wonderful story.
So, I still remember it, so I don't know if that was
98 has a chunk out of it, but it's 98.
That's a toy store miracle. Yes, everybody needs that.
So, my first gig was going to, I was a sales rep, and I had to go
99,
to
you know, if
department store in
these
Toronto
books don't have a lot of value, I don't think.
once a week.
Brave and the Bold and World's Finest are comics that the collecting people don't really go after, so these might be books that you can.
There was a rare
And Brave and the Bold in the 70s was not. I have 2 copies of that, is that right? Yeah, I guess I do. My understanding is that what happens in Brave and the Bold is not really considered to be canon. The other people working for the other titles just considered, oh, that's, you know, they ignored what happened here. Here's issue 100, Batman and 4 famous co-stars. How about that? Green Lantern, Black Canary, Robin, and Green Arrow. They just didn't want to put all their names up there, so...
There was also comic book shops where you could get all kinds.
Okay, Batman and Metamorpho. I still consider this the Soul Rage as long as there were 52 big pages for 25 cents. And then that's the end of that. With the next issue, they would go to 20 cents. Now, here's a great book, Brother Power the Geek. Now, I first heard of this in the Monster Times, which was a tabloid monster magazine that came out in the early to mid 70s. It was a great magazine. It was a great newspaper. It was fantastic. The Monster Times. But anyway, they had an article because they covered all aspects of monster culture. There's a new magazine out called Cryptology that's almost like the Monster Times used to be, except on slick paper. So I highly recommend Cryptology. It's like your local store now, or they maybe call this number and get it. See that number there? Gotham City Comics. Call Kevin and he'll hook you up with an issue of Cryptology. But anyway, they would cover monsters in comic books, not just in movies. They would cover even monster breakfast cereal in the Monster Times. But they had an article, they had an issue, the worst issue of the Monster Times ever. They used to call the Monster Times TMT, and the worst issue of TMT ever. And in it, they had articles on the worst movies ever made, the worst comics, and this was on the list of the top 10 worst comics ever made. No, it's not that bad. It's actually really kind of cool. It's makes me think of Monty Python. But anyway, it's Joe Simon. Poor old Joe Simon created Captain America and everything, and he was kind of shut out. This is actually a pretty good shape. Nobody ever read it. It's how old was Joe Simon in 68 probably. He was an older guy. Shoot, he could have just been my age, but I'm an older guy. I have to face that. And, he's writing a book about hippies, so he didn't. But this is a great book. It's Joe Simon, he was trying to, it's basically kind of like a Pinocchio story. This dummy comes to life, and he's Brother Power, the geek. Damn, did somebody draw on this? Computers back then, or the internet, and that's how somebody may have drawn on this. I don't know if that's a printing error or toy magazines on the shelves. After the big 90s toy collecting. That could be a printing error. But the Cheerios kid, the mascot of Cheerios, one of his eyes seems a little too large to me. What do you think of that? You see that? His right eye. Thought some kid had altered it. It was just like, it was mind-blowing. Peace, love, flowers. Yeah. There's some great stuff in here. Look at this. Weird, eyes wide shut kind of perversion. You saw those back issues, like you're going through that book going, I never saw this. Look at this, your cigar box collection. No more of those Aurora cars.
Were those the ones that were in multiple volumes? They did later on.
There's a great spread in here. If I can find it, I think it's in issue 1. Maybe it's in issue 2. Where is that? Come on, man. Yeah, ever. I had never heard of it until I saw that. Oh, here it is. Look at this.
Well, I remember that Tomar book because I worked on it.
You see that thing there? That's stolen right from one of those Topps monster stickers. So is that guy. That guy and that guy are both stolen from. Man, I think Wally Wood drew those. I think those were Wally Wood drawings for Topps stickers that I could, well, my book of cards is upstairs. I don't want to go get it.
Article rejected by
But,
in the late 80s. That was like,
wait a
the
second.
first time I ever tried
Is,
to do that sort of thing.
what am I doing here?
Damn it, the world
What
needs
if
to know
right
about
side
the
broadcast?
gene.
I'm not even recording this now. I'll watch this later. That's a fantastic panel. It's on, if you want to know what I'm talking about, I'll show you, because maybe you'd like to watch this. Okay, these are monster collectors on YouTube, and they're having a panel discussion. It's this guy's channel. His name is Raymond Castile, and that's his name there, Raymond Castile. And I don't know that guy or that guy, but they sound cool from what I was just overhearing. And then this couple are major monster collectors, and they've got that damn pail from Target that I want, but I'm sure it's sold out.
Sharing the knowledge so that people can
So,
have this knowledge to collect things, or you share the
anyway,
knowledge to be like,
these
this
are
is what I know, and
like
I'm now
to
the
me like
gatekeeper of
family
this
members.
knowledge.
But, let's see. I need to check out right side broadcasting here, because there's another Trump rally or something going on today. Oh, so there's oh no, come on. Okay. 9 a.m. they're going on. Today's the 13th. Oh, they're going to be in Arizona today. I wonder how far Prescott Valley is from Mesa. 45 minutes he's going on. Okay. Well, that's great. I'm finalizing this disc I recorded earlier of these cartoons from IOTV. Okay, what do I want to do here? Okay. Okay. It's Brother Power the Geek, ladies and gentlemen. It's a cool logo. Anyway, that's the second issue. Then we move on to Captain Action. Captain Action was a G.I. Joe sized action figure in the 60s. And that's what he looked like, but most kids didn't play with them as Captain Action. You bought these other suits for him, and Captain Action and his sidekick could become Batman and Robin, or he could become Superman, or Flash Gordon, or Spider-Man, or Sergeant Fury. You could get costumes from DC, Marvel, and what else could you make? You just clicked a head around his head and gave him a different. And so he was, and then he had a villain named Doctor Evil, and so he was heavily promoted and everything. And then he had his own comic book from DC. Back covers this great ad for the Land of the Giant Snake. Just a second. Man. Okay, Captain Action. Fantastic. The great thing about this book, story by Jim Shooter, look at that. Art by Wood. It's Wally Wood art. Pencils and inks. So, this is 1968, October, November 68. So this is after Thunder Agents. The artwork's fantastic. How often do you see Wally Wood drawing Superman? I'm used to seeing Wally Wood draw Super Duper Man. It was right, and then EC Mad. This is the 1968 Saturday morning lineup. They'd cleaned up the superheroes out of the Saturday morning. So 66 we saw it was all superheroes CBS lineup. Now they've got Go Go Gophers, which is a great cartoon. You got your Looney Tunes, Merry Melodies, Warner Brothers characters. You got Wacky Races, which had all these great cars, and the Archie Show. Yeah, and then you still had the reruns of the Batman and Superman filmation. Interesting. Wow. Captain Action. Okay, what's next? Why, it's Captain America 109. Now, this isn't real. This is a J.C. Penney facsimile replica comic from the 90s. It looks real on the face of it. It has the price tag and everything. I mean, the original price. But they were sold as a pack of replica books, and it has all these 1990s ads in it instead of the original 60s ads. So that's a problem. So that's 109. This is real. This is Captain America 112. This is a great Kirby cover. Yeah, this one I haven't looked it up. I'm sure it sells for a little bit of money. And 117. Back in the old days when I'd buy these books at Lone Star Comics, they would write the condition. Do you see next to the A in Captain America there? Do you see a little F? Come on, focus. Do you see the F right there in pencil? That was written by an employee of Lone Star Comics, indicating that this is in fine condition. It's the first appearance of the Falcon. Yeah, they would actually write the condition on the comic, but oh well. They don't do that anymore. 117. 124. I got this one recently from Gotham City Comics. This is 128. I got this one from, it was $20, but I think that they had it on sale for half price. I paid 10. It was put out on the stands at Duncanville Books on April 2019, but it's issue 128. I like these covers where the heroes are taking on bikers. There's a great Hulk cover where he's fighting bikers, and I think it would look really good next to this one on a comic wall. I've always thought if I ever had a comic wall, that would be a good thing to do. Now, Captain America took over the numbering of Tales of Suspense. So that's why you don't, earlier issues are gonna, of the Captain, most of the Captain America comics in the 1960s he's gonna be Tales of Suspense as far as the solo stories. But then he got his own comic during this late 60s period. This one, the title's been clipped off because it didn't sell, and then the inside, the name of the story therefore becomes the title of the comic. It looks like it's Bucky Reborn. But anyway, that came into my hands. I would rather not get comics missing the title, but what can I tell you? There's 133. This one's in nice shape. And here's another one like that where what happens if the comics don't sell? Instead of sending the whole comic back to get credit, they would just tear off the title, and then they'd say, hey, Captain America, someone wrote 135 up there. Maybe the 3 copies didn't sell of Captain America 135. They tear this off, send it in, and they get their money back that they paid, because this is a 15-cent comic. The store doesn't make 15 cents. They make probably 7 cents, or 7.5 cents or whatever, as they have to pay for it too to sell it. So that's how they did it. So yeah, the comics weren't making a lot of money for the stores. Oh wow. Art Gene Colan, look at that, man. There's the giant life-size moon monster. One of the greatest things in the world. This is Gene Colan. Only a short time before he'd be working on Tomb of Dracula. Yeah. Captain America 136. Here's 142. There's the threat, still 15 cents. Uh-oh, that's a bad sign. This one feels a little bit like it's got some water kind of damage. And I've got another one, the same. This one says $10. I don't know where I got that. Here's Captain Marvel #1. Little chunk gone there. I got this one in an auction. England Teens auction that he does on Saturday nights. He has a channel, I Love Comics. This is a great cover. It's got a subscription fold. It's not color breaking, but it's there and could probably be flattened out. One of those people that know how to press things. There's Captain Marvel #7. See, my collection is not world class. Most of you guys have complete runs of all this stuff. A run of Captain Marvel is not hard to, well, it's not hard to collect now when you've got the internet and eBay and all that, mycomicshop.com, but it used to be. I mean, this is all 50 years, over 55 years of collecting. These are the ones I found in the wild. Whenever I found them, I got them if I could afford them. So that's just, but yeah, now you can just go through and check buttons, click your mouse, and the stuff shows up a few days later at your door. But I don't know. I don't know if that makes you a collector or an accumulator. I'd rather hear stories about the chase and how you got those books and everything. That's interesting to me. Maybe I should show my Bronze Age Batmans on another stream. I don't know. There's Barry Smith and Herb Trimpe trying to imitate Jim Steranko. And I just never can. He was Barry Smith. All the first, it seems like, when did he become Barry Windsor Smith? Was that in the 90s? I don't. All through the 70s and 80s, he was Barry Smith, and all of a sudden, no, I want to be called Barry Windsor Smith. Yeah, it's like, okay, yeah, I'll call you Barry Windsor Smith, but I'm just always gonna, just by habit, call him Barry Smith. But I don't. It seems a little pretentious, And okay, so this is what's at the end of the box. Captain Savage and his Leatherneck Raiders. Issue 1. Not a book that really sold as far as I know, because you can get it cheap. You can still find it cheap. Here's #3. I guess I don't have 2. Thing about this book that's different from Sergeant Fury and his Howling Commandos is this has Hydra in it, and it has I've got a few of this. I've got like a whole bunch of this issue. Let's see which one's in the best shape. You find this one a lot. I don't know why I have 4 copies. I think it's genuinely that I wasn't sure if I had it. I don't know. That's 3. That I'm missing 4 and 5. Here's 6. Well, see, they are they have a crossover with Sergeant Fury and the Howling Commandos in this one. This one is cool. Is Objective Ben Grimm, because Ben Grimm, who would later become the Thing, was a World War II veteran, And so this is cool. I mean, they're kind of bringing the superhero world into the war comic with this Captain Savage comic. Um, and I think it's cool that they're coming in surfing. It immediately makes me think of Apocalypse Now and Robert Duvall. And this thing's been taped a long time. I'm trying to remove that frickin'. I'm going to cut this tape with scissors. This tape is stubborn. I want to look at the book, man. All right. Okay. Okay. It's Dick Ayers art, you know, from the original Ghost Rider. Just really cool. It's a cool war comic. It's just one that nobody ever bought and nobody collects. I'm not sure why. I mean, Sergeant Fury is another book you can get really cheaply, and that's a fun book, and it's got wonderful art as well. Why do you read so slowly? Could you be a moron, possibly? Um, yeah, how about that? This is number 9. This one's like in almost complete mint condition. And number 18. Move it, mister. We're breaking out of this death camp. Wow. I gotta start taking these books upstairs, man. I brought too many down here. Well, it's been nice spending a couple hours with you guys this morning. We've looked at some vintage Batman comics. Tell me down below what you want to see, man. Is there a particular type of comic you want to see? Anything? I don't. No one. If you comment, I'll pull the box down and show it. You let me know. I was thinking maybe pulling out Famous Monsters of Filmland. I don't know, man. But I'll see you guys later. Let me end the show. Goodbye.